Well, second part of my question wasn't yet addressed.
No problem. The boats. Good point.
Because you're operating those.
We're operating the boats.
No. Maybe Gwen can clarify that as well. I know that Gwen had said that Battery Park City.
We are, yes. We're working on selecting the operating person that will make this a useful waterfront environment, which everyone wants. But you know, we'll. Drew can comment on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it, and, you know, we're here to answer those questions, and I know it's a great concern to the community because it's sort of been an unexplained part of the project so far. So, I mean, the first thing you have to realize, it is a pier. It is under the jurisdiction as a waterfront property with the New York State DEC. So a water-dependent uses of the pier is an important part of DEC allowing a restaurant use and a public use like this to be part of the building. So we absolutely have to do the water-dependent uses. The question is exactly what that is. And we're working really hard on the business plan to make that right. So I understand the party boats. I understand about this is the boundary between the tourism area versus the residential section of Battery Park. And if you know Peter, you know this is going to be a Class A facility. So, I mean, the simple answer is it's not yet been determined exactly what it is. But, that being said, we will have a Class A, operation. We will select a, an operator that will meet strict criteria, including emission standards and everything that the community is concerned about. The question is exactly what operations it is. I mean, yes, do we see some sort of dinner cruise? Yes. Do we see some sort of tourism component to it? Yes. I can't speak exactly to what the schedule is, but there will be all parts of that, because that's what Battery Park is. I mean, those elements are literally 50 feet down to the Statue of Liberty right now. I mean, so it's a question of walking that fine line into exactly what we're going to do at Pier A. And it's a business plan that we're working on that we will present once we finalize, but it's not yet been determined exactly what we're doing.
I hear you loud and clear. I'm also going to say that it's more than 50 feet further down to the next pier. Your pier is part and parcel across the street from the school. More relatively closer to the school and the residential buildings than it is to the ferry over to Governor's Island, than it is to where they're not going out of at the moment to the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
They will, I know, reopen that. But that being said, so the concerns for your pier are so much more impactful to a residential community I can't even begin to imagine.
I would love to
I
hear
come
the
from a
concerns.
catering background, so I know if you're going to put 300 tourists on, okay, it's 50 people a bus. You're talking 6 buses idling along Battery Place in front of residents and schools. So there's a huge component that needs to be considered when you're looking at stuff like that. We had a very long meeting, and we got the front of it, and it's so much more of a concern because you're so much closer to something that's purely residential versus any other location with zero infrastructure to assist you. There's no driveway for you guys, there's no parking lot by you, and there's no bus lane necessarily that you can long-term idle. And to tell me, well, you know what, it won't be that bad. We already, it is an impactful thing. There's already catering event space within, 100 feet of you at the Jewish Museum and the Ritz. So it adds to it. 3,500 square feet in a restaurant, that's not so big. But a 300-person party boat, when you're talking about 15 minutes to 45 minutes to unload a bus, load a bus,
Sure.
per boat, and then another one, and then another one, it starts to become something that the community who say, yeah, we absolutely support. We want water use there. There's no one around here who doesn't love the marina. There's no one around here who doesn't love all of those kinds of things. Maybe some people. But we just want to make sure that the considerations are really well thought through.
In addition to the hundreds of buses that are already going to the Statue of Liberty.
Right, look,
that.
I appreciate it all, because I mean, look, we're trying to run a business inside with,
I think we're sharing similar concerns.
Yeah, we
we're
share
not in the
the
party boat
exact same
business,
thing.
so.
Because also this is a narrow, the pier itself, when you add in the table areas, we're talking about very limited spaces. And I know Tammy in the previous meeting, we talked about queuing, and Gwen said there would be a very sophisticated
It's not an easy
system.
pier to dock up to.
Yeah,
either,
but it's relatively narrow.
Of course, and
Actually,
we were actually really surprised we didn't learn about the water uses until the June meeting of last year. And it's water uses, so this is, we're still.
Well, it's a New York State requirement.
Right.
But, you
So-
know, it's a catch-22, because we know the pier is not easy to dock on, that inherently makes it safer for larger boats, which inherently makes that worse for emissions, worse for, you know, standards, worse for the community. So there's a catch-22 in there. Well, we understand what the tides are like, and it's much safer for larger boats. It's not exactly what the community is probably prepared for.
I assume that one of your biggest concerns, it's a mutual concern that's going to help us here, is you don't want a nasty bunch of emissions when people are trying to sit and have a nice day.
Of course not.
You're looking at.
And we don't want these crazy lines.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest issue is, you know, this is not.
You're looking at vendors, and you're looking at their track records, I'm assuming. There's not going to be some new business, maybe something that's already along the river somewhere.
Well, in the permit
This will be
application,
specified down to the boats that they use, the equipment that they're using.
but in the permit
purpose
application that you
everything.
filed with the state, it said specifically New York Water Taxi and Circle Line downtown, which we know. But today I got an email from Water Taxi because I use it, and it's like casino night, you know, on the boats, ladies' night, martinis, massages, oh my, you know. I mean, so that's an established vendor. It sounds like it's a, you know, Las Vegas night, National Lampoon Vegas vacation night. So I mean, these are. So, and also, they're currently operating out of Pier 17, which is not going to be functioning, I think, as for boats next year. So where is the next obvious place?
Well, water taxi's already coming into,
I mean, water taxi.
into that area over there. They're off of Pier A, kind of. They're on that little.
Maybe it's not 50
L-shaped.
feet, but it's pretty close. Okay, so we can go out and measure it, but I mean, you can throw a tennis ball at it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
that
it knows,
close. It's
yeah.
right there. The water taxi's there. New York Water Taxi does operate it. I mean, I know Helena Durst. The Durst family is one of the premier real estate families in New York. I don't know exactly about casino night and lady night, but I want you to be, I want to be clear here. I mean, this is our operation. Okay, this is not New York Water Taxi's operation. We dictate to them what they can and cannot do. So those type of things will not be allowed.
And this is one of the reasons why we're really taking our time with this, because, you know, we're accepting business plans from these people that we are going to scrutinize.
There is another element to that as well, just to sort of help satisfy. We pictured, we haven't gone too far in this, but if there were a dinner boat leaving that dock, we're picturing that these people have already participated in the pier. They're not arriving off the bus and just going to a boat and going back on a bus. This is something that would be.
Yeah,
And also, I mean,
we're not in the dinner boat business, so we're probably, I mean, we're not gonna allow some other group to just come in and go there, line up, go on for a party boat off of Pier A, and then come back and unload all around us.
So, I mean, also,
Yeah,
just to
that's-
alleviate
That's
some of
not
your concerns
happening,
about the
right?
casino.
We're not about to get into
Right.
the party boat business.
I mean, you can read our DEC application. I mean, it does not allow for those things.
Well, actually, I did read it, and it does say specifically the same. It doesn't go into details,
not
but it says
say that.
dinner cruises, but it specifically says.
Well, that's,
is that
a
for
dinner
reason?
cruise is a
Yeah.
lot different than a casino boat.
And I'm sorry, you're one of the pool of.
If they have a dinner in our place.
You're Dermot, okay.
Dermot.
Yes,
I'm very interested in all these concerns that you have, because we have our own concerns in picking, the use. So,
I think our concerns are very similar
Yeah.
to yours, and they really fall into two broad categories. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just wonder about the,
Yes, ma'am.
what would happen to the pier if another sanitary comes? What kind of protections do you have?
Well, we have always sort of designed the down